Hey everyone, this is Raj from London, Ontario. Canadian Imaging 2026, Saskatoon, we are coming for you. Are you ready for us? I'm really excited to look forward to hearing what Dee Potter has to tell us about travel photography. Do come and visit us.
I'm excited to introduce Dee Potter, an internationally acclaimed nature and travel photographer based out of Toronto. Dee is known for capturing some of the world's most unique and exotic locations, blending a strong artistic eye with technical precision to create truly captivating images. He's a Nikon professional and an active member of the Professional Photographers of Canada, where he's deeply involved in mentoring and supporting fellow photographers. In 2025, Dee represented Team Canada at the World Photographic Cup, earning recognition as one of the world's top 10 nature landscape photographers. And beyond his own work, he leads immersive photography workshops around the globe. Please join me in welcoming internationally acclaimed nature and travel photographer Dee Potter. Salut, Dee, and thank you for taking some time from your busy schedule to meet with me.
Well, thank you very much, Mike. I really appreciate you having me here today. And thank you very much for the generous introduction.
You're welcome. When we say Dee Potter, I mean within the PPOC community, everybody just lights up. They say, "Oh yeah, Dee." You're you're best known within the photography community as that international nature and travel photographer guy. In addition to your commercial and artistic work, you lead immersive global workshops, which we spoke about earlier in the intro, and which I must say are always in those very exotic and exciting locations. So, Dee, could you take a moment and tell everyone a bit about yourself, especially for anyone who does not know who Dee is?
Great question, Mike. That's loaded. Well, I mean, yeah, my journey has been anything but simple. But yes, as you mentioned, I'm a Canadian nature and travel photographer, and I have been really extremely honored to create a business from capturing some of the world's most amazing and iconic locations. And that in itself is the privilege. Like so many of my other photography friends, my origins actually started in music. And as a professional drummer for many years, I got to travel the world, but I got to see relatively little of it. I mean, it's just like as a photographer, you land at a gig and you're working, right? It doesn't matter where you are, you're working. So you're not getting to go off and see the things that you'd really like to. But I always had a camera with me. So every chance that I got, I'd be escaping. But they were far and few between. So even though, I could maybe get away for a couple of hours, if there wasn't a place close enough that I really wanted to photograph that I could get there and back without anybody kind of really noticing, it was
Yeah.
more important for me to hang out with the people you're working with, the people you're playing with, the crew, and because that is as important as the work itself is, these networks and relationships that you create, which is something that I'm going to be talking about at the conference. Certainly from the business standpoint. Later years, when I'm not traveling the world so much and I'm, mostly staying in Canada, I used photography to retrace my steps, go back to places that I wished I could have photographed. And so I had a lot of fun doing that and putting a portfolio together from that. And then as my last band organically retired, the next day offered another gig that would have given me another 2 years of commitment. And at that time, my work was being sold. I was being exhibited in an international gallery. I was being offered photo tour opportunities, and I realized, you know what? I got to figure out how to make a decision here and really decide which way I'm going to go. Because if I did take that gig, I was going to be able to do far less photography, and that concerned me. I've done all the music. I've enjoyed all of my music career, but I really wanted to pursue photography at that moment for all it was worth. And then since leaving music professionally and putting all the time into it that I could, and learning and going and growing my portfolio, I've you know, luckily, knock on wood, I've gotten more global attention, including last year's top 10 world finish at Nature Landscape at the World Photographic Cup, as you said. And then, since then, that led to the exotic destination photo tours, like you've mentioned, and but then also, commercial assignments with global brands and camera gear affiliations and ambassadorship, image licensing, greater print sales, and hey, speaking engagements.
Yeah.
So these days, I still touring, but now as a photographer and as a speaker. And honestly, I love sharing the excitement that photography brings to me. And I do everything I can to inspire or at least open up the possibilities to other photographers, as so many have done for me.
Yeah, thank you for your story. Oh my goodness. Yeah, just like the loaded question, there's so much you've packed into what you've just told us about yourself. I mean, it's amazing to hear your journey from transitioning from a drummer to becoming a photographer, and but yet being so passionate. You're in the world of artistic, you're in an artistic world.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The creation process is largely the same. It's like
Yep.
we're going to talk about all the technical aspects of photography at the conference. I mean, so that we can all have the foundation to grow on, the foundation to think with. But you know what? It's like when you're learning drums, you're starting out with one, two, three, four, and it just starts there for hours. It's monotonous, right?
Yeah.
Gets to a point where you don't think about it anymore. So when you're out in the world creating, when you're out on a scene, you're creating, you're going, you're instinctively moving, you're instinctively working the scene and finding the elements you want in your frame, and you're orchestrating your song before you without thinking, okay, one, two, three, four, one. Then it becomes harmonious. You
Yeah.
get that musical energy from it. You get that artistic spark from it. There are many similarities that,
Yeah, it's so funny you bring up the one, two, three, four. I was about to interject earlier and say, okay, 1234, and just get your reaction as a drummer, right? As you've educated me about.
yeah, drummer
Um,
time.
so I'm glad you spoke briefly about Canada, because Canada, like I mean, I made mention of exotic locations, but you hit a great point. We have so many beautiful and exotic locations here within Canada, that
Mhm.
alone, and I can't wait. Like I've seen some of your images with works from the Toronto area, where you photograph air shows, etc. Um, but I can't wait to see some of your flavor and style when it relates to some of our Canadian unique landscapes. So it'll be nice to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, and listen, when the moments that I get to go out to Banff, I'll be out there again in October. As a matter of fact, with Paul Ziska,
Oh,
our
cool.
keynote speaker, and any chance that I get to go out that way and capture the most, I mean, there's some of the most amazing landscapes in the entire world. But Canada, being the second largest country in the world, also means that when you're in Toronto, that's still a 4.5 hour flight plus a 2 hour drive. You can't get there every weekend. So I do a lot of work in Toronto with like a lot of urban photography, and
Yeah.
I've done projects with like Destination Toronto and and Global Affairs Canada, which showcases Canada for the world as far as they're concerned. And it's because you're right. We live in a country where you don't actually have to have a passport to get amazing travel photos. And if you
Hmm.
live in a travel destination, like any of the major cities in Canada or Banff or even heck, even Northern Ontario or Newfoundland, there's so many iconic travel locations right here that you don't need a passport for.
No,
And we should be availing ourselves of that a lot more. I agree.
yeah, totally. And like one of our spoiled destinations, of course, with this conference is Saskatoon. I
Yeah.
mean, It's a beautiful city, and they got so many architectural features, the bridges, the river,
Yes, they call
and
it the
even
Paris of the Prairies, right?
right,
Yeah.
right. So true. So yeah, I can't wait to spend some time there and do some photographic work in that area, and especially as well these iconic grain elevators that are slowly disappearing.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
I mean, wouldn't get a chance to see those otherwise. And honestly, I only learned in the last, I guess, 6, 7 years that my grandparents actually, or my great grandparents, were actually from Saskatchewan,
wow. So there we
and
go. We got a connection for you there.
I did not know this. So anyway, I'm
Saskatchewan.
fascinated. I'm fascinated now to see the place as a photographer. I've gone through as a musician, but again, it's like, what do you see when you're playing in the dark, right?
So true. Yeah, Saskatchewan, a province of so many hidden beauties and treasures. So that'll be phenomenal. When I first heard about you, I mean, you're such a gentle presence. You're so kind. You're so welcoming, and you care about people. You're genuine. When we speak with you, we can hear the genuinity of who you are as Dee Potter. But it's the imagery on top of it, though, Dee. And so when I did first hear about you and saw your work, there was two that really caught my eye, and it was the intense incense image and the dance of the Ao Dai.
Aodai,
Ao
Dance of
Dai.
the Aodai, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, that
powerful.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the Dance of the Aodai was from Vietnam. It was an image I took in the Imperial City there. And the in the Imperial City, it's a place of reverence. So it's like if we go to a wedding or a formal ceremony, they treat visiting the Imperial City the same way. So they all have to be in formal dress. And so the
Wow.
Ao Dai is the formal dress of the Vietnamese women. And
Wow.
so it's like a wedding dress or a gown. And when that photo was taken, it was about 9 a.m. and it had already reached over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And so we you talk about having to be dressed up. Well, no, I couldn't pound back the water fast enough, and I'd stripped off the legs on my cargo pants and down to my t-shirt and shorts, man, because it was hot right after I finished that shoot, and got the girl to had the translator ask her to do a little spin to actually show the folds and all of the details in that dress, which I was thankful she did because she could have at that point said, you know what, I'm too hot. But she didn't. She was cool and she was amazing. She was a pro. That twirl for me, and then I went immediately to the nearest gift shop and bought them out of all of their water and all of their hand fans for the crew.
For you to talk about that twirl, which was probably right near the very end of your full shooting
It was the
session.
last shot.
It was the last shot.
The
Isn't
last
that where
shot.
we get most of our most powerful image?
Sure, give me something we haven't seen before, right?
Yeah,
Which is
totally.
also the power of, and something I will talk about in my presentation is the power of going back,
Yeah.
the power of revisiting, the power of doing something again, because now you've got new light, new weather conditions, new time of day,
Yeah.
new all sorts of things that can create an even more compelling image.
Yeah, for anybody who's listening who hasn't seen Dee's work, I would encourage you to visit his website. So let me turn the table. I've given you my favorite pick. What is your favorite pick? If you looked at all your images, which is the one that really, to you, you love and you just keep coming back to?
Oh, I have to say, if I could only choose just one, it would be my sunrise at the Louvre. And it was actually my first excellence at PPOC in 2023, just out in my first competition. Well, I'll tell the whole story of it at the presentation. It's special in many ways. It was planned for months, and that was the first time I'd ever seen the Louvre, and it was 5 a.m. I planned everything. The only thing I couldn't tell you ahead of time was what the weather would be, right? So I was more pleased with the results than I'd pictured going in.
Yeah, that's a powerful shot. I was at the Louvre when I visited Europe.
So
So,
yeah, and I was doing that tour of France entirely on my own. I created my own shot list. I had a schedule, and I only had that one morning in my entire schedule that I would
yeah,
be able to do sunrise at the Louvre. So
wow,
I really lucked out.
it's captivating. So, yeah, kudos on you.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk a bit about your upcoming lecture at Canadian Imaging and about
Mhm.
the excitement about travel photography that you plan to share with everyone. Dee, what should we expect to see and hear from you in Saskatoon?
Well, I mean, as you know, it's called Travel Photography Secrets to Award-Winning Photos, right? But it's actually going to be quite a bit more than that. I am going to take some of what have been my most successful images and I'm going to deconstruct them. I'm going to break down all of the thoughts, decisions, what planning there was, working the scene, everything that I was thinking and doing on site to create the image and the whole thought process. But like I said earlier, it's like when you're on site and you're making those decisions, I'm playing it more like I'm crafting a song more than I'm going one, two, three, four. Let's line things up and see. Because you're playing with light and elements that are moving and they're fluid, and you want to be in the moment. So it's all of what was happening as well as the decisions that go together to craft the hits. Even as a musician, you don't, even if you've had many, many hits, even Elton John will say, you know what? I think today I'll write a hit. No, they create a piece of music that inspires them. Well, we create photography that inspires us in the moment that we're there. If it happens to hit, fantastic, right? This is going to be stripping back all the decisions that went into images that resonated. If we can break down those clues that went into those images that resonated, then we all walk away with something that, we have now the things that we can think about and incorporate to get more of those hits, right? On top of that, and actually, I should also point out too that every detail that I've been able to think of, every decision that I've been able to think of, every tip that I can offer based on these images applies to every genre of photography. I couldn't
Right.
think of a genre of photography that it doesn't apply to except maybe a police photographer. It's like no matter what artistic style or your weddings, portrait, wildlife, even macro, all of
Yeah.
these tips will still apply. But
Yeah.
then on top of boiling down those elements, I'm going to be talking about the business side because this conference, as you've spelled it out, is about finding your niche. So this is going to be both about how I found this as my niche and how I've been able to make it work and all of the tips, all of the angles, all of the skills you have to develop to be a travel photographer because hey, listen, it's not just landscapes. It's portraiture, it's food, it's fashion, it's wildlife, right? And I'll talk about the opportunities and how to grow in this space if you approach it the right way.
It's very exciting to hear you talk about how you're going to share so much information with everyone. Because, of course, everybody's at a pro stage at whatever stage of photography. And, we're going to hear about your techniques, how you've mastered them, and also the behind the scenes of how you thought the process through. Sometimes we think we know what we're doing, but then when we get a little bit of an inkling from another photographer of how they approach the subject, it gives us more ideas and awareness of what to do and approach. And I love your mindset about, even sharing the business aspect of, hey, if you're interested in this world of photography that you are best known for, here's some of the tips and tricks that can help lay the groundwork for your future. Thank you very much for that. I think that's phenomenal. I'm looking forward to seeing your lecture and to learning more about this area of photography, and especially to hearing some of your tips and tricks you plan to share with us all. For anyone who is still undecided about attending, what words of encouragement would you love to pass on to them? In particular, what will they miss out if they're not there?
If you ever want to grow expand, go beyond where you've been before, then learning from others is the most immediately rewarding opportunity you've got. I personally can't wait to see the other presenters. There's so much amazing experience being offered here, and everybody's bringing their A game of knowledge and wisdom. And I would say, you know what? No one gets where they want to go in a vacuum. The learning and sharing with others is the fuel for inspiration and success.
So true. When we work in isolation, we don't grow, we don't develop. So
Exactly. So I'm there to learn as much as you guys. I want to know what I don't know. You know what? Even when I go into a subject of which I know nothing about, one of the first questions I ask is, what are the questions I should be asking? That's how we learn.
It's so true, and it's so wise. I mean, I always say that to my students. I mean, I'm an old guy teaching students photography, but I also let them know that I still learn from you as students.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, I mentor people and they're showing me portfolios that I'm walking through it and I'm going, that's really cool. What exactly did you do? How did you do that? And because it won't necessarily come to me right away. And then they'll go, oh yeah, well, I just did this and this and this. Oh, okay, great. Okay. And instantly now I've got something in my arsenal, right? We can all learn from each other. Don't close yourself off to education, which is why you need to be at this conference.
looking forward to seeing you again at Canadian Imaging 2026. I know you have a lot of knowledge that you'd like to share with everyone who plans to attend. And I truly look forward to learning more from you about this niche of photography. Thank you so much for taking this moment in your busy schedule. And we are looking forward to seeing you in Saskatoon, my friend.
Well, thanks very much for having me, Mike. And it's been really great to talk to you.